You want to buy some Indian blood? Hello everybody, welcome back. And if it's not welcome back, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, hello, Hato. My name is Talon Silverhorn. I am a historical interpreter, and I focus primarily on 18th century Native history. I also contract with schools, museums, and historical institutions across the country to connect American Indian history to contemporary communities who still exist in the modern day. The goal of this channel is to promote cultural exchange and awareness pretty much wherever possible. Using things like YouTube, Facebook, and other social media helps me and other Native people to get our influence out there and to help promote the idea that we are still modern people. So just like the intro of this video, we're going to be talking about blood today. We're going to be talking about the sort of measurements that make up what we know as blood quantum, and using a question that I get very, very often to kind of break this topic down. I meet guests from across the world pretty much all the time. People that come from different countries, who speak different languages, who may have never seen or met an American Indian person before. But once we get talking, once we kind of build up a little bit of rapport and we have answered a couple basic questions, one of the things that people are most curious to know is, are you a real Indian? It's an excellent question, and it's something that I think takes very different forms depending on where you're from. But how much Indian blood do you have? Are you actually a descendant? Are you a real Indian? Do you live in a teepee? Can I touch your hair? What does my dream mean? Do you pay for gas? Do you pay taxes? Do you have a casino? What does my dream mean? What's in the peace pipe? These are not questions that I get very often, but you get the idea. So this question tells me ultimately one big thing, but three very interesting things that I think I want to break down real quick. The first part, this question rests on the inherent premise that there is an is and an is not. Native, not native. 2, if there is that inherent premise, there is some line that divides those things. And the third part of the question, which is directed towards me, which is the actual question itself, where do you put that line? So to understand blood quantum entirely, we have to understand a little bit about where it comes from and racial policy for Native people in the United States. I would go all the way back to the 18th century, looking at the black codes. So in Williamsburg, for example, the black codes begin Indian, Negro, and mulatto. Now the first two, you may have an idea of what that means. The last one, mulatto, simply means mixed, or most commonly means mixed. And depending on which of those categories you fall into, your rights and social privileges may be a little bit different. Focusing on Indian, if you're from a tributary tribe, like the Pamunkey, the Nottoway, the Monacan, you're subject to those codes, to a certain degree. If you're from a sovereign nation, like Cherokee, or Shawnee, or Wyandot, you are not subject to those codes. So what's the dividing line? The dividing line is citizenship. You are either part of English society and subject to their laws and customs, or you are not part of English society and therefore not subject to their laws and customs. The tributary tribes are just that. They are subject to England. They pay tribute. They live on land grants, what we would today know as reservations. And in the 18th century, the treaties that they have with the crown give them legal protections in exchange for their tribute. So that answers the first part of the question. What is this dividing line? What is this yes and no? Ultimately, it boils down to citizenship. Historically, racial presentation, whether you present more as African American, or whether you present more as Caucasian, or as Irish, or as anything else, it really doesn't matter. Citizenship is sort of a delineated issue of is and is not. One of the most important differences in today's world versus the 18th century in Native communities is the delineation of citizenship and cultural fluency. Active citizenship is very important for Native communities historically, and it's something that in today's world is a little bit different in that not every citizen participates in our government, social ceremonies, language programs, nor do they have to. Fast forward a little bit in time, when talking about that dividing line of is and is not, in 1906, Congress issues the first of what we know as CDIB cards. CDIB stands for Certificate Degree of Indian Blood. So just like a birth certificate and a social security card at, say, the birth of any other American, Native Americans also receive this, their CDIB card, their Certificate Degree of Indian Blood that says this is how much Indian blood you have. And it certifies that this person is eligible to receive benefits and a citizen of their tribe for the treaties that the United States is responsible for upholding. A little bit farther on in time, in 1948, with the passing of the Stigler Act, blood quantum and its functions as we know it today are really solidified. Now, many tribes have arguments for and against blood quantum as a tool, seeing that it's not really of our own creation. Some say that it is a tool of genocide. It can only decrease, never increase. So ultimately, the goal is that there will be no Indians. And to that point, I'm inclined to agree most times. There are also tribes and communities who believe that blood quantum is a tool that can be used to their benefit, both for legal and social purposes. Many people who don't understand the laws that Native Americans follow in the United States feel that there is some unfair legal advantage or preference given to Indians in certain businesses or enterprises. When it comes to history, or when it comes to archaeology or casinos, and we've all heard these types of things before, especially when it comes to NAGPRA and the Indian Arts and Crafts Act, we start to hear arguments that this is unfair and I'm being discriminated against because I'm not Native. And again, that statement functions on the basis of race, not citizenship. Citizenship is the legal status of me being a citizen of my country, of the Eastern Shawnee tribe. Because my country has treaties with the United States, I am allowed to do certain things that other people may not be. And it has nothing really to do with race and everything to do with our two countries' history. So those are those three kind of points wrapped up into one. The yes and no of what constitutes Indian, historically and contemporarily. Where does that line fall, and how do Native people define it or use it in today's world? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I try to put videos out at least once a month, hopefully once a week, on different topics, usually driven by y'all's questions. So if there's something that you want to see or something that you'd like me to talk about, I'm more than happy to do it. Just drop a comment down below and let me know what it is you want to see. With that, I say Solano Kikinole. Hope to see you again soon.